strategies to reduce the risk of burnout? Someone, especially if they're first timer, right? It's like, you don't want that, right?
Yeah. So when I first got into coaching, I was obsessed with the training and diet portion of things, which I should have been at that stage of my career, right? It became so apparent to me pretty early on that so training and diet was like only like 50% of the deal. You got this whole mental side of things. I can come up with the best plan, but it was always intriguing to me how, some people could follow it, some people couldn't, and how long could they follow it. And so I take it very seriously to build people's mentality alongside their physicality, because the way I view this is that they work in such similar fashions, right? It's interesting because people always look for ways to make things easier, right? I'm burned out, I need to make this easier. And that's not really what should be the goal. So like, yeah, if you're burned out, you may need to back off for a bit, but it's not a forever type of back off. The way I could put this into an analogy is, if I get somebody who's only been lifting weights for a few months and they go into the gym and, they're trying to squat 225 pounds and they're working towards it and they're like, I'm burned out. Doesn't mean we abandon adding more weight to the bar. The goal is not to lighten your load. The goal is to become stronger to handle a heavier load. When you're in the gym, the weights never get lighter. In fact, the longer you train, the heavier they get. So your goal is to get stronger. And so the same thing happens with your mentality. You don't try to lighten your load. You try to get stronger to tolerate the load, because as you go on in your career, the mental load does not get lighter. It gets heavier. Every show, you're getting a little bit leaner. The weights in the gym, a little bit, heavier. To get leaner, right? You need to be a little more precise. You need to learn how to deal with hunger, because you're going to get hungry as you get leaner. You're going to need to learn to deal with life stresses. You're going to need to learn to get more disciplined with your sleep. All of these things are a bigger mental load. So you need to get stronger to deal with it. So this may be a really roundabout answer, but when somebody's burned out, yes, we will decrease their mental and physical load for the time being, but also you can't just back it off. You need to address why we got burned out. Okay, it was too much, maybe it was too much too fast, but also then how do we learn to deal with it the next time we get to that point, get to that amount of load you were tolerating, right? Because we do need to get back there. You can't just stop. You can't stop progressing. And not to plug my new book, but so I wrote, well, not to, but also to. The new book that I wrote is not even a bodybuilding book. I don't mention bodybuilding. I think I mentioned powerlifting in it one time, but I purposely stayed away from bodybuilding because the principles in there they're not confined to bodybuilding. They're applicable to bodybuilding, but it's kind of a whole life thing. It's every mental principle that I try to instill in my clients along the way. And it's such a wide ranging topic of how you get somebody stronger mentally. But the problem is that a lot of bodybuilders are so focused on the physicality portion, right? It's all like, I'll just grind through it. I'll just do it. But I mean, does that ever work? You know what I mean? It does not work, not over the long haul. And so I think that when somebody's feeling burned out, you need to go through an analytical, process. Like if you're burned out in the gym, you analyze, right? You're like, if you're too run down, you analyze. Was I using too much volume? Was the frequency too high? You go through this checklist process of what caused your burnout and how you got to that point too quickly. So when you feel mentally burned out, you kind of need to run through the same checklist. Am I in a relationship that is not working? You know what I mean? Maybe it's, if your relationship is burning you out rather than rejuvenating you, you need to work on that relationship. In some cases, terminate the relationship, but work on it first. Try to work on it first. But am I watching too much Netflix and not prioritizing my sleep? Why am I doing this? Is it a lack of discipline? You need to address the lack of discipline. There's just so many things that need to be addressed from the mental side of things, and you can avoid burnout by trying to develop your mentality alongside your physicality.